So I got that phone call, a friend of mine that works at Olympic Channel, and she's like, hey, would you be up to going to North Korea in like a week or 1.5 weeks, run a marathon? And I'm like, I'm not sure if I can run a marathon, but yeah, heck yeah, I'm in.
I think it was a pretty big thing for North Korea to have so many foreigners at once there, and for the foreigners, it was a pretty big thing to be in North Korea.
The motivation was, I think, sheer curiosity. I had been up to Dandong and they had binoculars set up right next to the Friendship Bridge, and you could peer across and I could see the figures on the North Korean side riding by on bicycles, and it was just such a black box that the curiosity builds in you on what's it like on the other side of that river.
Then right before I went, actually, I kind of started Googling stuff, and I was like, you got to imagine, back in the days, around 2019, I had pink hair.
Yeah, I
and there's no way I could change my hair. I mean, I have visible tattoos. I have a cross tattoo right here. So randomly, I started Googling these things, like no tattoos allowed in North Korea, and I started freaking out. But like I said, I didn't know much about the country. I really only started kind of find information or get information once I knew I was going on the trip.
Our phones don't work anymore. You gotta be careful with what kind of books or whatever you bring into the country, and nobody can get a hold of you anymore.
So you're never sure whether you're seeing anything resembling the real North Korea, and I'm under no illusions that I have any real experience of what life is like inside of North Korea. You're constantly trying to figure out the code, see behind your tour guide's phrasings, and actually I think that the marathon was one of the best ways to do that, because you had this huge event where people did come out from the street. As we ran through Pyongyang, there were just a number of ordinary residents lining the path of the marathon or watching from their apartments. And I felt that that experience of the marathon day itself was the realest thing I'd seen in the whole week.
It's very hard to travel to North Korea when they're in a very politically isolated place.
Yeah.
It becomes dangerous, and it also becomes an ethical issue of whether you want to be seen as somebody who's helping to support the regime with your tourism dollars. And so if North Korea continues in this campaign, I think it's going to be a very hard question about whether to support tourism to North Korea ethically, politically, and economically.
In the past, I've always kind of been, I've kind of thought that you had to really separate politics and sports, because I know how hard you train for like the Olympics, right? And there's 1 in 4 years chance. But now maybe my opinion switched a little bit. I mean, yesterday I think it was in the news that the Russian athletes were allowed to compete again. And I'm just not so sure if that's the right way to go. So yeah, like you would have asked me that questions 5 years ago, I would have clearly said, yeah, you got to separate politics and sports. Now that I'm not an athlete anymore, maybe that I've changed my perspective a little bit.
Sporting events have long been a form of propaganda for the North Korean state. I think the mass games is a clear example of that domestically, but also for the images broadcasted internationally. And the marathon felt a little bit to me like an opportunity to signal that North Korea is an international nation which can have its own marathon like the other big nations. So I think there's two sides of it to consider, but purely speaking personally, I really appreciated the chance to actually go and see for myself, however fake it was.